Support for this Supersoul conversation comes from ZipRecruiter. Looking for your next great hire, but short on time? You just need the right tools, smarter tools. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 top job boards with just one click. Then their smart technology notifies the most qualified candidates to apply. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Right now, our listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Supersoul. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Supersoul. Supersoul Conversations is supported by Third Love. Look, it's no secret, bra shopping is a drag. But what if you could skip all the hassle and find a perfect fitting bra in minutes? Sound good? Then check out Third Love. Their Fit Finder quiz recommends the bra that's right for your size and shape. And Third Love is the only lingerie brand that offers bras in half cup sizes. Now you can try one of their bras free for 30 days. Just pay $2.99 for shipping. Go to thirdlove.com/Supersoul to find your perfect fitting bra and try it for 30 days for free. That's thirdlove.com/Supersoul. thirdlove.com/Supersoul.
I'm Oprah Winfrey. Welcome to Supersoul Conversations, the podcast. I believe that one of the most valuable gifts you can give yourself is time. Taking time to be more fully present. Your journey to become more inspired and connected to the deeper world around us starts right now.
Hey, Maston.
Oprah.
How are you?
So
Gabrielle,
good, so excited.
Marie, hi.
Hi.
Come on in. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Of course. Glad to have you here. Hi.
Thank you so much.
Super Soul Sunday. Yeah.
Soul Sunday.
It's true, the glow that surrounds Gabrielle Bernstein, Maston Kipp, and Marie Forleo is very bright. Gabrielle Bernstein is a life coach, speaker, and best-selling author. The New York Times calls her a role model for a new generation of spiritual seekers. She reaches tens of thousands of listeners on her weekly show on Hay House Radio, and she's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, People, Forbes, and CNN. Maston Kipp is the founder of The Daily Love, a newsletter, website, and Twitter feed with more than 500,000 followers. It's been called the fastest-growing inspirational site on the web. Maston's goal, to provide a forum for spiritual minds to share wisdom along the path we all have to take. Marie Forleo is an author, speaker, life coach, and entrepreneur. She's built a multi-million-dollar company from the ground up. Her sold-out live events, coaching programs, and weekly online show have empowered tens of thousands of young women around the world. She's already won the attention of Russell Simmons, Tony Robbins, and billionaire visionary Sir Richard Branson.
This is a forum. This is a platform for talking to the world's greatest thought leaders and spiritual teachers and wisdom gatherers. And I know you all are in your 30s, and in my 30s, I was still trying to figure it all out. So, Marie, do you believe that in your 30s you have spiritual perspective?
I think I have the spiritual perspective I could possibly have now, but I think we're all works in progress. Mm-hmm. And I think the incredible gift that the three of us have been given is that we started young, looking at these ideas and trying to practice. And I know, I first learned about meditation at 17 and was starting to do yoga, and it just opened the floodgates to this incredible wisdom. And I'm like, why isn't this taught in school? And I became so passionate about learning all of it and to be able to pass on the knowledge and the experience that we have to even a younger generation. It's important.
Okay, tell me the moment the spiritual door opened for you.
I was very young. I had spirit connecting to me. I felt very open and psychically aware as a child, which was quite scary in some cases. My mother was a yogi. She used to bring me in and out of ashrams, so I was brought up in that environment. I used to see my mom meditate as she'd come in and out of the room. And when I was feeling very depressed at 16, having an existential crisis like many 16-year-olds have, my mom taught me how to meditate. And the first few weeks of my meditation practice, I experienced a significant amount of shifts in my being. And
really?
I started to have those moments where energy was flooding through my extremities. I felt really overwhelmed with a sense of peace, wrapped with a lot of love.
16?
16.
Wow.
Yeah. I turned my back on it for many years after that. I had to come back home.
I was going to say, didn't you become an addict and all that? Yes.
Yeah, I put 10 years in the wrong direction only to come back. But I believe when those spiritual seeds are planted in children, they know where to return.
Gabrielle says she was a sensitive and intuitive child who grew up feeling different. In school, she tried everything she could to fit in, but she says it never worked. She began seeking refuge in food, drugs, alcohol, until she hit bottom at age 25. On October 2nd, 2005, Gabrielle says she prayed for help, and a voice inside her said, "Get your life together, get clean, and you'll have everything you desire." She listened to that voice and discovered what she now feels is her purpose, to help others tune into their own inner voice.
Don't you think hitting bottom at age 25 from addiction, don't you think hitting bottom gives you the best opportunity to spring yourself forward?
I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now if I hadn't hit bottom at 25. It was the greatest catalyst for everything. It cracked me open, it woke me up, and it brought me back to who I really am.
And what did it teach you?
It taught me that nothing out there will give me what I know I can find in here. Nothing out there will make me happy. And I can be a reflection of my internal condition. I can allow the outside world to reflect back to me what I feel internally. But I don't need to get anything to feel that strength. And so that is what
And how did you come to that?
On my spiritual path, I got sober at 25. And very quickly, one of my friends in recovery gave me a return to love. And you know what happens when somebody gives you that book. And very quickly,
I bought 1,000 copies.
Yes, exactly. You end up buying 1,000 copies of it. And I wound up in Marianne's lectures very quickly, sort of listening to her like a top 40 hit.
Yeah.
And the day that I picked up the book, I walked in, there was a huge display of A Course in Miracles on sale. I walked over and the book physically dragged me to the counter. An energy behind the book dragged me to the register.
Well, you had that psychic thing going with yourself since you were a kid.
I was, you know what,
Yeah.
we all have it.
Yeah.
I just said, bring it on.
I know you have said, Mastin, that all addicts, we were talking about addiction a moment ago, but that addicts are just looking for God in all the wrong places.
Yes.
You think so?
I believe so. And I when I was going through my own addiction with drugs and alcohol, I was really wanting to be happy. That's all I really wanted. And there was so much guilt and shame around what I had done. This good boy from Kansas coming to California, doing drugs and alcohol, and like the life that had been wasted, all that type of stuff. But there's a really, I believe everyone has a God-sized hole inside of them that we try to fill with shopping or with a relationship or food or sex or drugs or any of that type of stuff. And it's really, as Gabby so eloquently said, it's not out there. It's in here, and it's an internal connection. And that's what a spiritual practice, that's what listening to your intuition, having a creative expression, being of service is all about. That is how you sustainably fill up your God-sized hole. Otherwise, it's like a drop that's disconnected from the ocean. You just wither and die.
So this is why I love being able to have this kind of conversation because, in traditional religion, I remember being raised where, literally my entire Sunday was spent in the church. I'd go to Sunday school, and then church would be over by 1 o'clock, and then we go back for 3 o'clock afternoon service, and then there'd be 5 o'clock Baptist Training Union, and then Wednesday night it's choir practice and prayer service and so forth. And then I would watch my grandmother, after all of these services, go home and pray and worry. There was a contradiction there.
Yeah.
There's a contradiction there. And not too long ago, I was interviewing 50 Cent, 50, who said you either pray or worry, don't do both.
Yeah.
And so the bigger question becomes, how do we take the spirituality that however you define it, living with an open heart, living with more loving kindness, how do you take that and use it in the everyday? How do you do that?
I forgive as often as possible. I think forgiveness is the bedrock of a spiritual practice. And I really believe that if we can tune in with forgiveness, I say we got to practice the F word every given moment. And so through the practice of forgiveness, we return back to that centered place, we return back to love.
Do you think that your generation is more attuned to the inner voice?
I think that we're more open to it younger, and I think that's been one of the blessings of technology, because there's sites, like the Daily Love, things that are hip and cool out there, and people are seeing tweets and Facebook messages, and hearing about books earlier. And I think that we are more open to it, and I think that's really exciting to think about a new generation of spiritual seekers and spiritual practitioners. When I take yoga class, I've seen kids now in class, like 8, 9 years old, come in with their parents and learning how to meditate. And that's just so exciting to me.
What
So
I love
beautiful.
about kids is that you come into the world already trailing the breath of the angels. You already
Yes.
know it.
Wide awake.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just wide awake, and the older you get,
forget.
you forget, and the rest of the world helps you to forget. So were any of you raised in traditional, formal, religious environments?
Catholic.
Yes.
It wasn't
Well,
like
you can't get more traditional
Yeah.
formal than that. Yeah.
It wasn't hardcore, but it was, had my communion. I went to a Catholic university, Seton Hall University, and I even worked for the church while I was in Seton Hall University and studying in college. So I had that as a part of my upbringing, but I realized my mom was very spiritual and not so much religious. She prayed a
And
lot.
what does that mean? Because you know what, when you ask people that question
Yeah.
today, are you religious? Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Often you get the answer, well, I'm really more spiritual than I am religious. What does that answer mean to you? What do those words mean to you?
For me, it means I try and bring a sense of deeper meaning and purpose and reverence to everything that I do. I try and look for the
and
bigger.
that is what you mean by spiritual.
That is what I mean by spiritual. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to show up in church every week. For me, it's a much broader view. It's a much more inclusive view of what it means to bring God into our lives and reverence into each moment.
It's the Sufi view, which is God is in everything.
Yes.
Yeah. And Maston.
I definitely grew up with, it was interesting, my parents were biologists, but they also wanted me to believe in something, so I grew up Presbyterian. So and I was even in Christian school for a while. So at school I was learning about the creation story, and at home I'm learning about evolution, and it was sort of very confusing. And
How did you balance the two?
I didn't.
Maston Kipp grew up in Kansas, the only child of two scientists. Like Gabrielle, Maston says he often felt awkward and alone growing up. His family moved frequently, and he struggled with his weight. In his early 20s, he believed he'd finally found happiness when he landed his dream job in the music industry. But to keep up with everyone else, he says he started partying hard and became addicted to cocaine and alcohol. After just 2 months on the job, he says he was fired. It was a turning point for Maston. He got sober and realized that beneath his addiction, he yearned to feel what we all want, love. Eager to connect with other like-minded people, he started The Daily Love.
I know, Maston, that you focused, because I read it, The Daily Love, on your blog. And I read where you said that Kim Kardashian actually changed your life.
Yes. I think that Kim is amazing. When we first started, it took me a year to get 1,000 followers.
Yep.
And I had my life completely fall apart in 1 week. The relationship I was in fell apart. The investors in my company pulled out because they lost money in the recession. My business partner and I broke up. My lower back went out, and I got gout in my big foot. All in 1 week. Oh, and my roommate gave me 3-day notice that I'm moving out. So all in 1 week. And I had done just enough practice to know maybe this is some type of divine storm. Because I can't do this myself.
Yeah, when it all happens at one time, you just go, woo, gosh,
Yeah.
what am I not paying attention to?
Big time. It was a huge wake-up call.
Okay.
And as a joke, my ex-girlfriend's parents offered me to move into their pool house, which is 8 feet by 8 feet. And I thought, no one does that. I felt this calling into the Daily Love. I had very small numbers, but I said I have to go in here. And after I moved in, and about a month after that, Kim tweeted out to about 1 million people at the time, guys, check out The Daily Love. It's an amazing thing. And then overnight, we went from 1,000 to 10,000 followers. And it was like this confirmation of God going, I got you. And I remember about a week before.
God shows up in the
Yeah.
most unusual spaces
Well,
sometimes.
it was interesting timing in my life, because a week before I sort of talked to God a lot, and I said, God, I'm in this 8 by 8 room. Like, why this 8 by 8 room? Like, you're infinite. 8 by 8. Why 8 by 8? And the answer I got back immediately, I still get chills. He said, because this is the size of your faith. It just gave me chills. And then followed very quickly with, but it's enough. Trust me. And then a week later, Kim tweeted, and I was like, oh my God, okay, I trust you. Literally, oh my God.
Gosh, yeah. One of those oh my God moments.
Yeah.
More of our Supersoul conversation after this.
Support for today's show comes from Audible. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. And unlike a streaming or rental service, with Audible, you own your books, so you can access them anytime, anywhere, right from your smartphone. Plus, thanks to the Great Listen Guarantee, if you don't like your title, you can swap it for a new one. You can even switch back and forth between reading and listening to audiobooks across devices, including Amazon's Kindle and Echo, without ever losing your place or missing a word. If you'd like to hear more from these Supersoul guests, find their books on Audible. And now, Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audible.com/supersoul to browse the unmatched selection of audio programs, download a title for free, and start listening. Go to audible.com/supersoul. That's audible.com/SUPERSOUL and get started today.
Guys, may I just say this? Are you all not amazed with the work that you're doing in the world? And I use the word, I think the word amazed is overused, but truly amazed that people are just sometimes figuring it out, that they have the ability to control what's happening to them, that your thoughts are your reality, just sort of basic stuff. Are you not amazed?
I think that people are waking up really fast right now. So I think I'm amazed that actually so many people were not so awake for so long.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you have those moments when you recognize people waking up, it's cool. Like, it's just, we have to look at it and accept that this is a time when people are going to be, in a sense,
Are people waking up, or is it just, this is the question, because Marianne said this to me years ago, Marianne Williamson, and I was in a lovely little store in Summerlin, California recently, and it's a store called Sacred Space. And I was there, and the gentleman who owns the store said to me, you know, there's a spiritual revolution happening in Santa Barbara. And I go, is there a spiritual revolution happening, or is it happening in this store, and everybody's coming into this store, so you think that it's happening? I used to say this to Marianne. Is there really a wide awakening, or is it just in your circles?
I believe it's really happening.
Okay.
I
Why?
do.
What would indicate to you that it's really happening?
The indications.
With the culture that is shown to us every day on television, on billboards, in the media, what would indicate to you that it's happening?
I mean, for one, your programming, the fact that it's out there, the number of books, the number of people that are seeking. I feel like, there's these kind of things are popping up, and people are getting on board with wanting to learn, with wanting to be the better version of themselves that they know they can be, and wanting to make a difference beyond themselves. And so I do believe it's happening. And I also feel like it's important for us to hold that belief, to hold that vision, to help bring it into life. But I do think it's happening.
Marie Forleo says that if Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, Jay-Z, and I all had a child, it would be her. Raised by hardworking parents, Marie believes she was born to be an entrepreneur. In her 20s, she worked on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and it was there, of all places, that her spiritual journey began. We all know it can start anywhere. She knew, deep down, she was meant for something different. She lit up at the idea of becoming a life coach, knowing she could make a difference in other people's lives. She started small, then built from scratch what has become a multi-million-dollar company dedicated to helping young women discover what they were truly meant to do.
Do you have a regular spiritual practice?
I do. I mean, mine is pretty simple. When I wake up in the morning, my fiance Josh and I have a dog, Kuma. He's a toy Australian Shepherd. It's like we take at least 5,
Don't
10.
we just love saying our dog's name?
He's my little man.
I just love saying Sadie.
Sadie, Kuma. And we sit there in bed and we have our little cup of tea every morning, and we talk and we connect before we go out into the world. And for me, it's just a reminder to bring love into everything I'm doing and to remember what's most important. But I think that how we bring spirituality into our everyday is being present. For me, that's been one of the most profound practices and habits to form.
Yeah.
Because even just like being there with someone and not looking on your phone constantly and thinking before we send that email, or what's the energy that we're bringing to a phone call.
I mean, I think we've lost presence to a great extent. When you see people, you're in conversation with people and they're doing their, which that sends a message that whatever you're saying is not important to me, but whatever is here is more important than you are.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't you think we've lost presence?
Severely addictive.
Yeah, severely, yes.
And I think that that's like a really easy way for us to get back in spirit, in connection with people, is to be present with them. And it's like if we're having a conversation, it's like put down the phone. If you're sending an email, don't be on the phone at the same time. But that whole practice of presence, I feel is it's almost like a gateway drug into bigger spirituality.
Okay, Gabriella said that the best way to enact your spirituality and to have it manifest in a real way is through forgiveness. What is your answer to that question?
I think for me, it's not making yourself wrong for thinking fearful thoughts or negative thoughts. There is a trend that I see where people believe that if they have a negative thought or if they have a fearful thought, that they're not spiritual enough, they're doing something wrong, or that they're not in alignment. And I think that's total hogwash. I think that negative thoughts exist for a purpose. Fearful thoughts exist for a purpose. You know, Joseph Campbell has a great quote. He says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek."
Yeah.
And if you go into the cave of your fearful thoughts, of your negative thoughts, and understand why they're there and shine a light on it, it can really illuminate them.
You know, I always eliminate my fears by this thought. It's from Marianne Williamson's Return to Love, which I know you're big students of. And it is the line that says, "Fear is trusting in your own power." So anytime I find myself afraid, that's the first thing I think, okay, so now you're trusting in your own little powers. Why don't you go to the mighty powers that include all of God, all of the universal energy, all the divine, and then that instantly eases that for me.
Yes.
The second you get out of your own way.
The second you get out of your own way. Okay, and for you?
It really is. How do I bring,
Yes,
for
Marie.
me, it's passionately engaging in every moment.
It's being present.
Being present and like being where I am, like I want to be there, you know,
Okay.
whether I'm stuck in traffic, if I'm at the bank, you know, and there's a long line or whatever I'm doing, I'm like, you know what, this is my time on planet Earth and God gave me a gift of life. Like, let me enjoy this. Let me be here with the people that I love.
Yes. How do you see God, Gabrielle?
In people, in service. Aung San Suu Kyi said, when you're feeling helpless, help someone. In those moments when I'm feeling disconnected from God, I pick up the phone and I ask somebody how I can help them.
Really?
Works every time.
Works every time. How do you see God?
For me, I really, truly, at this point, believe I see God in everything. And my practice now is to see God in people that really trigger me, or in the haters, or in the negative behavior.
Really good. Yes.
For me, it's every single moment. It's riding on the subway and looking at people and connecting with them in their eyes, and even looking around everything and seeing the miracle that is this life. And every time, if I feel like I'm
Aren't you
checked out,
amazed at that sometimes when you think about the miracle that is this life?
yes, and that brings me to
That
tears.
is a Supersoul Sunday moment right there. Just thinking about the miracle. You know, my favorite quote is I have many favorite quotes, so when I say my favorite, it means it's one of many, is Joseph Campbell, "The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are."
Yes.
And when you think about that, the privilege to be who you are, to have all of your suffering and to be able to rise above that, to hit bottom and climb your way out of it and back up again. Yeah.
And to love, and like even, you know, I'll bring it back to Kuma, our dogs, once again, to see that little fluffy being, you know, running around. It's like I see God in everything and in the smallest, most mundane moments, and that's usually what brings me
So
to
you
tears.
see all of humanity as a manifestation and an expression of that which is the greater
Yes.
God. So for people who are looking for the experience of spirituality, who want to feel more connected, who want to open the door that you have already opened for yourselves, I'm going to give you a moment to think about your top 3 things to do to begin to open that door for yourselves. Top 3.
It's a lot more simple than we make it. The first step is to be willing. Once we become willing to know more, when we have that moment of, is this it? There has to be a better way. Books fall off the shelf. This show just comes in your ether.
Yeah, you're sitting there watching it and you're thinking, why? Because I've seen that from many, many tweets and Facebooks. Like, I happened to be flipping through the channel and this was on. And
That's it.
And yeah.
They're guided.
Because isn't every experience coming into your life based upon what you're calling
Your
in?
free will.
Yeah.
You choose.
Okay.
And so the second you say, I'm willing to see things differently, I'm willing to know more, what you need will be given to you. But the next step is to pay attention to those opportunities and those teachers and those assignments, because we can be willing, but then just go right back to the phone or right back to the drugs or right back to the lover or whatever.
I'm willing to see things differently.
Pay attention to the assignments.
Pay attention to the assignment.
Don't pretend like nothing happened when the book falls off the shelf.
Yeah.
And then the third step is to show up for the assignments. So you can pay attention to them, but you must show up.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we wake up to spirituality, and you know this, you've seen it everywhere, kind of, you know, you know what hits the fan, and everything falls apart. And those are the moments when we get to work. Those are not the moments when we drink. Those are not the moments when we go back to the addiction. Those are the moments when we get to work.
Those moments are showing up to help you
Yep.
show up.
Everything comes up so it can be healed.
Yeah.
It must be healed. So this is willingness, pay attention to the assignments that are coming to
Yeah.
you, and show up for them.
And show up for the assignment. Really good, Gab. All right, you're on, sir.
So for me, I like to reference, as always, Joseph Campbell. And Campbell says that...
Don't we love him?
I love this man.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Thank you.
Joseph Campbell was a legendary American writer, mythologist, and lecturer. His work was brought to millions of viewers in 1988 in Bill Moyer's popular PBS series, The Power of Myth.
I watch The Power of Myth once a year, every year, on like clockwork. Not because it changed, but because I change. But he says that we are not looking for the meaning of life as much as we are looking for the experience of being alive. And Campbell's coined phrase that sums up his whole life's work of everything he ever studied is follow your bliss.
Yeah.
And it's turned into this kind of like trite tattoo.
Yes.
But you have to understand, this guy studied all the human stories and mythologies and religions and everything, and this is his advice to us.
Yes.
A
Say it
lifetime of
again.
work, follow your bliss.
Yeah.
So that means pay attention to those moments when you're lit up, when time just flies by, when you're in like sort of that field of just joyful expression, which is generally in contribution and being of service in some kind.
Yeah.
Some sense of connection in your life.
Yeah.
And then to be able to take action in that direction and trust that as you step, something will come to support you.
Right.
So it's really about, instead of what can I get, how can I take, how can I manipulate, the question is, what can I give? And when you look at what makes you happy, what makes you come alive, as in following your bliss, you look at those patterns, because if you look back, they're there, and you step out into that.
What makes you happy? What makes you come alive?
Yes.
What is your bliss?
Yes. You
Yeah.
can talk to people. When am I most happy? Ask your friends, ask your parents.
I'm
all that
most
type of
happy in
stuff.
these conversations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So I've
invite-
created a whole network to have them.
Yes.
Yes.
And we are grateful for that. Because it's very, and we are as well. I mean, this is what makes us happy.
Happy is when I'm lecturing, when I'm teaching.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to be more spiritual. That's the
Yes,
question.
I want to be more spiritual.
I want to be more spiritual. So I would say the first place to start is gratitude. Because I feel like once you
That's a
have
big one.
a sense of gratitude for exactly what you have right now in your life,
Yeah.
whatever you have right now in your life, it starts to change the framework, the lens through which you see everything. And I feel like it changes us on a cellular level. That's when the books can start to fall off the shelves. So when we're grateful, I'd say that's step one.
So gratitude.
So
one.
gratitude, one.
That's
Number
big.
two is presence. Can you be present to everything around in your environment? Can
Yeah.
you bring that life energy, that God energy to everyone and everything that you touch?
Well, what you're talking about. 'Cause
Yes.
people think present. What does that mean? That means giving your full attention to whatever is happening in this moment
Yes,
now.
using the incredible senses that we have
Yeah.
of touch to actually feel things, to see the vibrant colors. When you're present, it's almost like the world exists in 3D. It's like high def.
Yes.
Everything comes clear and you feel different. And then for me, passion. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about passion.
Yes.
For people to find their passion, and oftentimes we think that that's outside of ourselves. And this is one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned. The secret, ironically, to finding our passion is to bring passion to everything that we do. It's like a muscle that we can build through use, through strengthening it. So it's like even waking up in the morning, making your bed. You can either make your bed like, oh, I got to make this bed.
Yeah.
There's no fun. Shouldn't somebody else be doing this for me? Or I don't want to do it. Or
Yeah.
go and wash your dishes and like, oh, this again. Or you can actually bring passion and enthusiasm, a sense of gratitude in life to everything you do. That's what I think is missing, because people are looking for it outside of themselves rather than saying, I have passion inside. I'm going to bring it to everything that I do.
Yes. I only make my bed on the weekends. But when I do, I pretend I'm Martha Stewart.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
I arrange as many pillows as I can. I say, what would Martha do
Yes.
with these pillows? Yes.
More Supersoul coming your way in just a moment.
Support for today's Super Soul conversation comes from Squarespace. Ready to start your new passion project? Make it stand out with Squarespace. With beautiful templates, Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website. Customize your online presence from look and feel to settings and products using beautiful templates created by world-class designers. Then showcase your work, blog or publish content, even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. You can use Squarespace's analytics to help you grow in real time. And not to mention, everything is optimized for mobile right out of the box. Best of all, there's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Though if you do have a question, Squarespace's award-winning 24/7 customer support is there to help. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code Supersoul to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com, offer code Supersoul.
Okay, you wrote a book calling yourself a spirit junkie. What does that mean?
A spirit junkie is someone who chooses to perceive the world with loving lenses.
Oh, good.
Someone who is really committed to a spiritual path and really committed to turning inward whenever necessary.
Can you be a spirit junkie and profit from it, you know, in your efforts to try to spread the spiritual word to other people? Can the both work together?
I think they have to work together. I think this idea that to be spiritual and broke needs to be shattered because I know a lot of people who are spiritual, they don't have a lot of money. And the reality is we live in a Western world. We have money, we have finances, rent, we got food, we got things. We're not mystics in a monastery.
Yes.
We are mystics in the world.
Yes.
And so as a result, we have to be able to monetize our gift and our skill. I think that it's a valid question though, because anyone who comes out as a teacher or someone who's sharing wisdom should be questioned, should be scrutinized, should be tested, and their integrity should be evaluated. But that being said, you know, if they're adding value to the world, I believe that we are compensated financially to the same degree that we add value to the world. There can be a beautiful way to make money and balance
But
everything.
you're being rewarded in kind.
Yeah,
Marie?
and I also think that we have such an incredible opportunity right now to bring spirit into business and work.
Yeah.
And how beautiful is that? I mean, as adults, we spend most of our waking hours at work or doing our business. So how beautiful would it be to take these spiritual principles and use them at every moment of the day, every email that we send? If we decide to create a product or a program or to launch something, that we're not just thinking of it from the financial bottom line, but we're making love the bottom line.
You've said that 20-something seekers really are mostly women, and you notice in the 20-somethings a yearning among them. Yearning for what?
There's a sense of urgency.
Yes.
And I think this is a time for teachers. And so I think that there's this psychic awareness in this next generation of seekers that they're here to teach. And so that they really need to wake up fast, much like we did, because we must show up in a very high level. And so therefore, I think that there's this unconscious sense of urgency, like I need to do this not just for me, but for something greater. And they may not be able to put that into words, but they're experiencing that.
Do you see that too?
Absolutely.
Yearning? A yearning?
A yearning for something, for their lives to mean more, to matter, to find work that's meaningful, not just to get a paycheck, but they want to make a difference.
Right.
And usually anytime you start seeking to make a difference, there's a heart connection and there's a connection to a greater purpose, which then opens the door to these types of conversations. And then it's like we're off to the races. Then that's what gets exciting.
Mastin, do you think men and women are looking for something different when it comes to spirituality or fulfilling the spirit?
No, I don't think they're fundamentally looking for anything different. I think they're looking for the same thing. I think that women are primarily more open to personal growth and more open to talk because, you know, there's a lot of emotional discussions and that's not usually a typical male conversation. There are a lot of guys who read the Daily Love and subscribe to what we do that, you know, and it's funny because all the girls are like, who are they? Who are they? Because women are wanting more awake men right now. And I think the reason why there is a sense of urgency is because we really are in the middle of an existential crisis.
You could sell that list of men who read the Daily Love.
The Daily Lovers, men and
Daily
women
Lovers.
connection.
Yes.
Literally.
Every generation has its lessons. What lesson do you think your generation brings to the table?
I think that there's a space for us all to learn and accept that it's the time to rise up.
But isn't every time the time to rise up?
Now more than ever,
Yeah.
it's a time to rise up and it's a time to wake up. This is a time about we. This is a time about people coming together, community and awakening, and people really are hearing that unconsciously.
Why do you do the work that you do? Because you want people to know?
Yes, it's an awesome question. 2 reasons. One, that they belong. They're not alone. That to me is the number one. I have felt so alone most of my life. I felt separated from everything, that they're not alone. And 2, there's a quote from the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas that Jesus is quoted as saying, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you.
Wow.
What you bring, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you, and it's inside of you. And my entire existence is geared towards helping people identify that, run with that, and live with that. Because what we need are people living the demonstration of another way. And if we can get that at critical mass, it doesn't matter what's going on in politics or
living
anywhere
the
else.
demonstration of another way.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And how you choose to use your life in service is what's going to really matter, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. You most want people to know.
I want everyone to know that everyone is entitled to miracles, that everyone is. That miracles occur naturally, as A Course in Miracles says. Miracles occur naturally, and when they're not occurring, something has gone wrong. We have the capacity to lose the weight. We have the capacity to earn the money. We have the capacity to live a far greater life than we perceive we do. But we have to make that decision. We have to exercise that free will and make that conscious choice to see differently.
How do you get miracles to show up?
Well, we have to begin to release all that's blocking the presence of those miracles. So we build up a wall against those miracles. And so we need to start to take down that wall one loving thought at a time, one Supersoul Sunday episode at a time, one book at a time, one prayer at a time, one yoga class at a time. Whatever our practice is what takes down that wall and helps us remember.
I can't emphasize enough or agree with you more that when your heart is open and willing, things just start to show up. Isn't it amazing? One book shows up, then another book shows up, then something else shows up, and then somebody says, let's go to a yoga class, and somebody says,
You're given what you need. Everything you need, you'll be given. That's the other thing, is that it's okay. Like, that's the other message I think we all need to receive, is that everything will be okay if you choose for it to be, if you choose to see things differently.
Yeah. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
You all do basically the same thing. You write books, you do blogs, you lecture, you talk to people about connecting to their own spirit and manifesting their spirituality in the world. Do you ever feel in competition?
No, I think that for our generation, we believe in co-opetition, and we believe that metal sharpens metal, and that we're really in here for collaboration. We constantly talk to each other. We constantly are helping each other. That we really believe that it's through our unity that we're strong, not in our division. Competition is an old model.
And each of us has such a unique flavor and a unique story. And so, I think that there's such abundance in this world. And that's the place that I feel like everyone grows from. So many of my followers, like I have Gabby and Mastin on my web show, and I'll promote these guys. Their work is so important, and we do that because really it's not about what I can get, it's what I can give. And I feel like as all of us can rise up and bring more people, it's like there's more love in the world. There's the actual things that we're here to teach is happening the more that we cooperate.
I think that we all kind of get that there's enough to go around. And I also think that we all, I gotta say this honestly, we have so much work to do. We have so much work to do, and if we don't help each other, and we see competition and separation, we're not doing the work. We have so much, and we have to work together to do that. We have to support each other. We have to support each other.
Have to support each other.
Absolutely.
What is the difference between religion and spirituality?
For me, spirituality is a practice really of bringing reverence and heart and love to every moment of your day. And my definition of religion is it feels more structured. It feels like there's more rules. It feels like at times there's a lot of judgment about who is doing it right and who is doing it wrong. And for me, it's not a place that feels good in my body. Spirituality for me feels very inclusive, very loving, and very accepting of all.
For me, religion is a set of rules that define someone else's spiritual experience, and spirituality is experiencing your own.
That's good. Woo-hoo.
Spiritual is very simple. It's a measure of how loving you are, period.
Yeah.
That's
For
it.
me, it's a measure of how open your heart is.
Exactly.
To receive all the bounty and beauty that God is.
Yes.
And that's what it is to me. What is it to you, Gabrielle?
I think people find spirituality through religion, but I think spirituality is a artful craft. We can create our spiritual understanding of our own. We can have a God of our own understanding. We can find God through guitar. We can find God through swimming, through aerobics, through forgiveness, whatever it is. So I think that religion is something we are taught, and spirituality is something we learn and teach ourselves.
Your definition of God.
My definition of God is the ever-present essence of love.
God is love.
Everything in the creative force.
And you're most grateful for?
I'm most grateful for my relationship with my beloved.
I'm grateful that my family, God, and my girlfriend have been able to love me in times when I could not love myself.
I think it just hit me that I'm here. And I'm just really grateful to be able to do this work at this time. I'm also really grateful for my family and for my fiance. He's my greatest assignment and my greatest teacher.
And I'm grateful we had this time.
Yes.
I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for your voices. I'm grateful for your watching. Thanks, everybody.
I'm Oprah Winfrey, and you've been listening to Supersoul Conversations, the podcast. You can follow Supersoul on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join me next week for another Supersoul Conversation. Thank you for listening.